Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something deep, something that's kind of like the inner operating system for your personality. It's an ancient framework, but you'll see just how relevant it is right now.
I mean, have you ever stopped to think about what's really pulling the strings behind the scenes? You know, those hidden forces that seem to steer your choices, your moods, even where you end up in life. Well, the source we're digging into today, a lecture on the Bhagavad Gita, says it all boils down to this fundamental belief system. And I love this analogy. It's like a pre-installed software, a core program that's running in the background, shaping almost everything about who you are. And just to be clear, we're not talking about what you consciously tell yourself you believe. No, this idea is called Shraddha, and it's this deep, almost unconscious faith. It's what's directing your gut reactions, influencing your body, and literally creating the reality you experience. It's that code just running in the background, you know? So how does this all work? Well, it's not just a random mess of beliefs. This system operates in one of three very distinct modes, or what are called gunas, these fundamental energies.
So you've got sattva, which is all about goodness and harmony. Then there's rajas, that's the passion and action mode. And finally, tamas, which is ignorance and just inertia. Now, here's a really cool way to figure out your own default mode. Just listen to that little voice in your head after you've had some kind of success. The sattvic person immediately thinks, wow, the heavens must have helped me. The rajasic person, all ego. I worked hard and I made this happen. And the tamasic person, whoa, I almost completely blew that. That was way too close. See the difference?
And this really gets to the heart of it all. The source puts it plainly. You are what you believe. Whatever you have faith in, that is what you are. It's that direct. It's that powerful. Your fundamental faith really does define you. Okay, so this is a really fascinating idea, right? But how does it actually pop up in our daily lives? Well, the examples are surprisingly concrete and, as you're about to see, maybe a little too relatable.
Let's kick things off with something universal: food. So let me ask you, do you have a food religion? You know, those certain things you feel like you just have to eat, that you can't go without? Your cravings are a huge clue to your dominant mode.
Okay, so someone with a rajasic palate, they're all about passion. They crave those intense, stimulating flavors. We're talking super spicy, really sour, maybe way too salty. And get this, it often leads to feeling uncomfortable, maybe even some pain. But for them, that intense jolt is the whole point. But then you have the sattvic palate, which is totally different. It's about goodness, right? So they enjoy food that's wholesome, juicy, nourishing, stuff that makes you feel healthy and full of life. The goal isn't the jolt, it's the nourishment.
So, what about the tamasic palate? This is where it gets really, really interesting. This is a palate that's drawn to food that's stale, leftover, tasteless, or even what the source calls rotting. It gives some fermented items as an example. Now, let's be super clear. This isn't a judgment on any specific food. It's about the underlying drive, the unconscious attraction to things that are kind of lifeless or past their peak.
And this same three-part logic applies to pretty much everything, like how we give to others. It's not that you give that shows your motive, it's why you give. Sattvic giving, that's when you give simply because it's the right thing to do, with no strings attached, to the right person at the right time. Rajasic giving is more transactional. You give because you're hoping to get something back, or for the applause, or maybe you just give in because you feel pressured. And tamasic giving, that's giving disrespectfully, at a bad time, maybe to the wrong person, and often with a feeling of looking down on them.
The pattern even shows up in how we apply effort and discipline. The text calls it austerity. Sattvic austerity is all about disciplines of your body, your speech, your mind, done with a genuine sense of faith. Rajasic austerity, on the other hand, is all about the ego. It's effort for the sake of reputation, honor, vanity. Think about someone pushing themselves to the point of injury at the gym just to look a certain way. And tamasic austerity, that's just misguided, often self-destructive effort. It's done out of a confused idea to hurt yourself, or maybe even someone else.
So if we're all running on one of these programs, you gotta ask, right? Can we change the code? Are we just stuck? Well, the source gives a really powerful and I think optimistic answer. Absolutely, yes, we can.
The way to do it involves this three-part mantra. But hold on, it's not about some mystical chant.
It's actually presented as this incredibly practical, psychological tool you can use to elevate pretty much any action you take. It's a framework for becoming more conscious and purifying why you do what you do.
Okay, so it breaks down into 3 simple but really powerful parts. First up is AUM. Think of this as connecting to the universal. So before you do anything, you link that action to a purpose bigger than just your own ego. Next is TAT, which means thatness. This is all about doing the thing just to do it, without getting all hung up on the results or what you'll get back. And finally, you have SAT, or the real. This is where you ground your action in what's genuinely good and true. So, see how it works? AUM sets your why, TAT lets go of the what, and SAT makes sure of the how. It's a brilliant little formula for transforming any action into a more conscious, purposeful act.
So what happens if we don't do this? What happens when we just act on autopilot, without this mindful threefold framework? When our actions don't have this deeper layer of faith?
Well, the text is pretty blunt about this. It calls those actions asat. That literally means unreal. It says, and I'm quoting here, "It is nothing in this world or the next." Wow. So basically any gift, any effort, any sacrifice you make without that deeper faith, it's considered totally void. It produces zero real lasting benefit. Not here, and not in the hereafter.
And that leaves us with this one big, powerful question to really think about. If your deepest beliefs are literally the blueprint for the life you experience, what kind of reality are you actually building right now with every choice you make? Because once you understand this inner operating system, you get this incredible power. The power not just to see the code, but to actually start rewriting it, to consciously build the life you really, truly want.